Okie dokie, friends, let's get started on this tutorial. So I'm doing a tutorial on this product right here. This is the Erica's Siskrin. I probably said that wrong, sorry. This is this particular brand single fold binder, 35 mm size. This is what I purchased off her website and have absolutely loved it. Why is this thing so nifty? Because it gives you professional looking binding finishes on any garment you make. Now, let's talk more in depth about this first before I show you the full tutorial on how to use it. First off, there are apparently some knockoff brands you can buy off Amazon. I have not personally tried those, but from everyone that I've talked to that has tried those has said they regret even buying it and they should have just bought this from the get-go. Apparently, this is top of the line binder attachment, and I've had great success with it. Now, it is a universal attachment in the sense that if it doesn't fit your model, she sends you this sticky putty. It's kind of like that sticky putty you used to hang, picture frames on the walls with. And that way it sticks onto your machine wherever you need to place it. So even if your holes do not line up, you can always attach it with this. I've also had people ask what machine you specifically use with this. I use my cover stitch machine, but if you don't have a cover stitch machine, you can always use your sewing machine and use a twin needle to get a faux cover stitch look. If you want me to film a video on how to do that, I'm happy to. These are not compatible with sergers as far as I understand. I don't know how they would work with a serger really. It really is for a cover stitch or sewing machine. In addition to having this and the thread that you're going to be sewing with, you need to have binding. You can either pre-buy binding. Erica herself does sell some on her website, or you can make your own. I typically make my own because I'm typically trying to match the garment with the same color binding, so I just create my own. In that case, if you are creating your own or if you're buying some online, you will need to get binding that is a little bit under 1.5 inches. I'm not sure the exact size that she recommends because I lost the paper that comes with it, but I always cut mine just slightly under 1.5. It's more like 1 3/8 inch wide. The length of it needs to be as long as it can be. You don't need to measure how big your opening is or anything like that. You just cut a really long strip and it will naturally pull it the tightness it needs for a binding. I will say from the outset, the only big learning curve that I have found is when you're sewing around a curve. So for example, on this tank top, there is a deep curve in the front. Well, when you're trying to sew around this, sometimes it can get a little bit off. So I would recommend just practicing a few times, using it for the first time before you go into your immediate project because you don't want it to get wonky on your first try. Get comfortable with it first. Now, the way that you would typically attach a binder without this attachment is that you would sew the entire garment together and then you would cut the binding the right size, you would sew it on after the garment's already sewn together. With the binder attachment, however, though, you don't sew the seams first. You attach it like from a start to a finish and then you sew it together. Now, if you have something like this, like a tank top, you can sew one side together and leave the other side open and start on one side, go all the way around to the other side. Once you're done attaching the binding, then you would sew that seam closed. That's what I did on this one. This is the one that I originally sewed together first, and this is the one that I finished off. I attached the binding to and then finished off. I will be attaching this around the neckband of this tank top. So what I did is I sewed it together on one side. I will start attaching around to the other side, and then I will sew this together at the end. Every machine is going to be different, so you need to play around on your own machine. Sometimes your machine will have these holes that you'll be able to stick it into. I, unfortunately, it doesn't fit, so I don't. But you'll figure out where your placement is. On my machine in particular, I try and line up this little crevice right there with the end of this, and that tends to work for me. But once you get it set in the place that it should work, you just press this down to secure the sticky in place. You will continue feeding this all the way through until it pokes out here at the end. And that's where you're gonna grab the point that you cut earlier, and you're going to pull it under the presser foot. There we go. And you wanna make sure, I don't know if you can see, but right here, the fabric is folding over. You wanna make sure that happens here. I grabbed my light so you can see, but basically this fabric folds over itself right here at this point. You need to make sure it does that before you start. Now all you'll do is lower your presser foot. Oops, let's get that back. And then you will start cover stitching. It will start looking like this. That is the underside. So now we are going to take our project that we're sewing and we're going to feed it through this opening here. One thing I will say is I typically will turn my presser foot pressure down low when I'm doing this. I find on my machine it works better. So I've gone all the way around the neck hole. This is the other end. So all you're going to do is just finish off. Okay, so then you cut this and then you will simply sew these two sides together and you're done. This is where I went back and serged those two open pieces together, and typically I will just tack this down. So this is what the inside looks like. Beautiful. And this is what the outside looks like. Also beautiful, very professional. Last thing I will do is I will just go back and steam it in case it got stretched out at all. And that's it, you guys. It's super simple. It makes for a very professional looking finish. It cuts the time basically in half to attach this because it's just easy peasy. She does have a Facebook page dedicated to answering questions in case you buy this and you have any, you encounter any trouble with it. She can help you troubleshoot on there. Highly recommend.